A beautiful afternoon to you and welcome to Africa Discourse. I am Wilson Marshall. Today, it's all about Africa and of course the race against the spread of coronavirus, trying to stop it from spreading. For some African countries, due to their religious inclination, they are refusing to say no to a religious gathering. For instance, Tanzania. It's like the president of Tanzania is like saying, look, I do not believe in what you people are saying as such. I believe totally in the power of God. Hence in Tanzania, they are very religious body divided across board. Some are closed while others are just filled with worshippers trying to express their belief and faith in God. If you go to Mauritius, you know this time of Ramadan, some Muslim brothers and sisters, fellow brothers, they've chosen to go out to the mosques to pray, at least to break their fast, to the extent that is causing rifts between nations. For instance, Zambia chose to close borders with Tanzania because of the way they are treating social distancing. We talk about religious gathering, they are not for it. Many of the opinion that what is really happening, if you come down again to our country, Nigeria, yes, some renowned men of God, they are clamoring for the reopening of religious bodies, talking about churches and mosques or thereabout, and they are giving strong reasons why they really want to go back to start fellowship God. And this has been met with so much talks, some for and of course some against. What side of the divide do you belong to? Mind you, in Africa we have above 63,000 cases of coronavirus, yes, confirmed cases, while for death more than 10,000 in Africa as a continent, and the number just keep on increasing. Well, with me here in the studio to talk about this, I have a legal practitioner. Join me to welcome Barrister Robinson Imade. Welcome to Africa Discourse.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much.
I hope you're keeping safe.
Yeah, very well, very well.
So tell me, how do you feel about the clamor of some churches in Africa, in some countries, to go back to have that religious gathering so they can start worshiping God even amid coronavirus pandemic?
Well, in my opinion, it is very sad. Sad indeed. Because we Africans have a unique way of reasoning. And I think that what is happening just now, the clamor, all stem from either ignorance, greed, or selfish disposition. I do not see how anybody will convince me that unless you go to the church to worship, that God will not answer your prayers. I do not also believe that that the churches are locked down in Africa or anywhere in the world. The religious buildings, in my opinion, are shut down, are locked down, but the church is in the person, it's in the heart. And so the church is on, the church of God is on, it's not shut down. Nobody can shut down the church of God. But the religious buildings, the castles, the pyramids, the big mosques, all of them are shut down, not in the interest of government, but in the interest of the people, the poor masses, those who hardly know their right from their left, those who need to be protected. It is a known fact that most religious leaders rip off the people. They believe in what they can garner. And you get that from what is happening, say, take South Africa, where we now have a pastor, a very well-known pastor, selling eggs on the streets of South Africa. And when he was asked why, he said, well, I have a wife and 6 children, a large family, I need to feed them. Before now, that large family, large in quotes compared to families in Nigeria, was fed by the people. And today, the people are in communion with God individually and in their pockets of assemblies, in their houses and around the places. I do not believe, like I said earlier, that the churches are shut down, but the buildings are. And it seems that the protest is stemming from the fact that the pastors who are used to going to the banks, smiling once or twice or even more times a week, are no longer able to do so, and some of them are crying out loud, open the churches. As far as I'm concerned, coronavirus is real. Out of ignorance, many people, even in Nigeria, do not believe. Out of ignorance, we also tend to believe that unless we go to the church to pay tithes and offering, God will not answer our prayers. And out of greed on the part of some of the religious leaders, they tend to make the people believe that unless you come to the church to pay money and to ask for prayers, that you cannot on your own commune with God. That is not true. The Bible says that where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I'll be present. That's what we are promised. And many families are more than 2, 3. So what stops you from gathering your wife, in some places your wives and your children together and praying to the Almighty God? You get salvation is hardly preached in our churches all over Africa and in most parts of the world. What we hear about are healings, prosperity, and the likes. And I don't know who has become poorer because you've not been able to go to church or pay your tithe. A very close person of mine, somebody I respect so much, a lady of very high virtue, sent me a WhatsApp message. And what was it? The general overseer of her church was giving special prayers, and this is true, to faithful tithers. And it was said that such prayers were said quarterly for those who pay their tithes faithfully. And the last one just held last month, which means that if you are even a tither and you've not been absolutely faithful in it, you won't enjoy from the prayers. That's the kind of things we see. And for those countries or church leaders that are asking that we open up the religious places, I do not have any excuse for. We must know that coronavirus for now is unleashing untold hardship, is killing people, it's making the whole world sick. And so it is not safe. Even when Nigeria says, let's keep social distance, let's keep a distance of 1 meter, about 3 feet or so, from one another, and no assemblage of more than 20. It later became 10, but it was not given prominence, the figure 10. I was astonished to see that some big churches say we are now having 4, 5, 6 services. The question is, when they come for your first service, how do you control 20 people inside? I want to imagine that they'll be scrambled to do the religious obligation and go home. And so you bring in through one door 20 people out of a crowd of about 2,000, and you say you are keeping social distancing. Even the churches, as I see, even on your own station, who are doing online transmissions or services, I see the last 1, 2, 3 Sundays, I've seen a choir of about 11, 12. The pastor comes to preach. He's talking to people, obviously. I don't see the people he's talking to. Are we sure that after the choir, the man of God is talking to about 7 people? Why don't you show the hall? Let's see the social distancing you are keeping. Let's see how many people you have there. There's a lot of deceit. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misunderstanding of COVID-19. And I think government should not listen to them anywhere in Nigeria or in Africa. But there's a peculiar case, the Tanzania you mentioned. You remember that the president said that many free things may not actually be free. And when the donated test instruments were given, he saw that many of them were positive. As we speak, Tanzania still has a population of 509 or thereabout of cases of infected people. And he now said, okay, let's be sure that these kids they are donating to us are really good. What did he do? He got pawpaw. Yes, pawpaw. He got a goat, got a sheep, got different things, including engine oil. And said, send these samples to the machines. And you know what he saw? He said this publicly himself, that even pawpaw fluid tested positive. That even goat substance tested positive. And so he lost faith in the existence of coronavirus. Whether that is right or wrong, But the fact that the test instruments themselves are flawed will give credence to the fact, to his position that, look, let us believe in God.
All right.
The question is, does he really believe in God enough to combat COVID-19 for him and his country?
All right, John Magufuli, yes, that is the name of the Tanzanian president that is still at the forefront, saying he doesn't totally believe in COVID-19, and that is like sending a kind of, how will I put it now, they didn't really agree to gatherings or social distancing, why some churches are of the opinion that they should shut down. Others are still doing their normal fellowship, doing their normal service. Now we're talking about easing of restrictions globally, even in some African countries. I don't think that is enough also to ease restrictions in religious body. After all, for our Muslim brothers, this is a period of Ramadan.
You know, a lot has to do with leadership. In London or in the UK, the Muslim communities, the leaders are saying, don't reopen mosques. They are saying it will not be safe to have religious grounds, what they call the mosques, open now because of the fact that it will be difficult to maintain social distancing. They alluded to the fact that before you enter the mosque, you must come in, you do the ablution, I don't know what they call it, you wash your hands and everything. And how would they control people? Well, the chief imam, so to speak, of the area said that after such services, people come around to embrace him. How will he control, stop that? And so, whereas there are Muslims who are saying, don't let our mosques be open, others are saying, in lesser climes, if you like, permit the word lesser, that they need to reopen. Those of the mosques are even a little bit better if you look at the spate of agitations. The churches, the big churches are saying, let us maintain social distancing. Let us wash our hands and wear masks. The point is, if 20 people can conduct a mass, why don't you allow people who stay in different areas to do their home fellowships? Must it be in a place you call church? Is the building the church? Does God answer prayers, or only prayers said in a building designated as churches? Is it true that all churches are stricto sensu churches? When did God say that you must pray through a man of God, a pastor, before he answers the prayers? To me, after Jesus Christ, the next person is me. And so God has given us wisdom to know what is right from what is wrong. It is, in my opinion, getting better for Christians who now have the time to believe in God rather than believing in their pastors, their daddies in the Lord and the likes. I don't believe that we have become less religious. I only believe that we are becoming more conscious about God and the things of God. So whether it is Ramadan time or not, I'm sure Islam as a religion will not also forbid individuals praying on their own. Don't forget that in Islam, you pray 5 times every day. Even when there are no mosques. You are traveling on the way, and it's about time for prayers. They park their vehicles, come down, get their mass spread, and facing the east, they pray to God. Does Allah not answer them? Must it be prayer said in the mosque? I agree that the Bible says we should not forsake the assembly of the brethren. But who are your brethren? Those who believe in your cause, in the cause of God, in the things of God. And so if after this program, I say, Wilson, you gentlemen, let us pray. God said he will be present. So the fact that we are no longer able to contribute via tithe and offering to a particular pastor does not mean that God is not answering us.
But do you think it's just tithe and offering? That is what is beneath this agitation. What we are talking about fellowship, we are talking about building of faith. They are talking about praying also for the world, the country, and family, so that they will be shielded against this pandemic. It goes beyond tithe and offering. I don't think so.
I agree with you completely. I agree with you because you believe that if a pastor decides to, like we saw TB Joshua doing on the mountain, even though with camera and
I wouldn't want to mention names right now for
because I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
Okay, let me not advertise him. We have seen some men of God going to the mountains to pray. Are you saying God will not answer them? Pray against COVID-19, pray for the end of it, even though they prophesied that it will end at a particular time, it didn't end. They now say, oh, we were talking about ending where it started. All right? Are you saying that if our big men of God, or whoever, 10, 11, up to 19 of them come together in a large hall, say, let us join our faith together and pray, that God will not answer? Must prayer be individualized via registered churches? Do you need, if it is not money, are you not aware, Wilson, that some churches said, for this period of COVID-19, since you cannot come to church to pay your tithe and offering, they send messages and said, pay your tithe and offering to these accounts. Have you seen prayers sent to members of churches? We are praying for you every day, recite this or do the other?
All right, now, since there's been ease in lockdown in so many countries, even in Africa, you get to see that the markets are like open. They gave a comparison also between churches and market, because on market, take a look at the markets, is like one a kind of a gathering that social distancing is not even adhered to. So now, since you can open up markets, churches, mosques, religious bodies, they are more organized than the market. They'll be able to adhere to all the principles put on the ground to fight against the spread of COVID-19. What do you think about that?
I have seen clips of pastors arrested. I've seen clips of pastors hiding under benches in their churches to evade arrest. I've seen clips of pastors saying that evil will not befall their members by mere use of not sanitizer at this time, holy water, what do they call it? Anointing oil and the likes, and even as simple as what do they call them? Whatever. I've not seen pastors saying, take this anointing water, spray it, and you won't have COVID-19. Let us even agree that it may be necessary to open churches. If any pastor will come out to say, if we open churches, the 20 in batches will come and shake hands with me unprotected, I'll know that they are serious.
Seriously?
Yes, I'm not sure anyone will agree.
If that should be done, then where's the place of social distancing and avoiding contact?
That's what I'm saying. Is it not better to keep social? Do you know that even in advanced worlds, people are not allowed to come out of their houses at all? And that only recently they will say, okay, children are becoming bored, let children come out between the hours of A to B, cover a distance of no more than maybe 10, 20 meters, just play around and come under supervision. Are you not aware that markets were closed even in advanced climes? Is the papacy open? In Rome, the church in Rome, is it open to worshippers? What has the Pope said? Why are we becoming more Catholics than the Pope? Why are we thinking that God dwells in our physical church buildings and not in our hearts? Why are the people not agitating for churches to reopen? Why are the church leaders the ones agitating? If there is a law that outlaws tithes and offering, would we have a tenth of the churches that we have in Nigeria? Would we have at all a church? Now that everybody is contributing to the welfare of the others, being our brother's keeper, as the Bible puts it, how many churches have you seen going to give out palliative items?
Some churches are doing it.
For their members alone.
Some churches are doing
of their
it,
members. Yes, I said how many churches? I agree that some churches are doing it under the full glare of camera. How many of them are doing it privately? Because the Bible says if your right hand is making an offering, the left hand should not know what the right hand is doing. Do you think any church in Benin will bring out 100, maybe 10 million naira to share at this time without all the media network present? Are we serving God or we are serving Mammon? Are we allowing the will of God prevail in all that we're doing? Are we not ripping up the people? In the Bible, we saw Jesus feeding the 5,000. But we not see today 5,000 people feeding one man of God via this tithe and offering. When the Bible says, let there be meat in my storehouse, bring ye all the tithes. What was happening in the ancient times? You were a traveler, you were passing by, you see a synagogue, you go there to eat and they give you some to take away. Do they even give food to the poor people now? Would any church dip inside the covers and say, this is 1,000 naira, buy food and share to my poor members? No, instead, we see poor people contributing to the pastor's kitchen. We are talking about bread and butter. That is why the agitation is coming from the men of God themselves. The idea of saying, oh, even though you are home, send your first fruit, send your tithe and offering is not working, and so they are crying.
So now, what about the comparison they made with the markets?
Oh, is it not shameful that we're now comparing a place of worship with market? Government is doing what it likes with the market men and women, moving them from the markets to fumigate, bringing them to primary school, fumigating the market after 2-3 weeks, the markets are not reopened, and moving them about. I hear that Lagos Street is shut down. The control that government has over the operations in the markets, will the churches allow government to have it over them? Are we not going to be corrupting the pastors if we say, oh, open, keep social distance, don't do this, don't do that? The enforcers will go, and I will not be surprised that pastors will be giving bribe to cover their...
You are not sure of that.
I said I will not be surprised. I'm not sure of it. I will give bribe to anybody for any reason. But I can't swear that any pastor will not give bribe to save his name, if it comes to that. Locking down the churches are more in the interest of the pastor. Let them bear with government, let them bear with the people. Let the people for once breathe fresh air. This idea of daddy in the Lord, mommy in the Lord, the uncles and brothers in the Lord, let it cease for some time. Let people think, commune with God on their own, and see the much that God will bless them. And I'm sure God is blessing people. Blessing people. I don't see so many of sick people now because a burden, in quotes, is heaved off them. And so they're able to think aright. They're able to pray to God. People will, before now, go to church in the morning before they go to work, rather than pray to God from their houses, leave their offices at the expense of government and the job they're supposed to do, go back to pray, go in the evening, go to sweep, go to let them be free for some.
All right, now, okay, now let's take a look at the case in Tanzania. So the case in Tanzania, 509, and of course, for the number of deaths, 21, no new deaths recorded yet. Total number of recovery, 183, and active cases, 305. And they are still there going about religious activities. What does this tell you?
Well,
that is in Tanzania.
There are
because John Magufuli says no.
I'm aware. There are two ways to look at it. One, you look at the population of Tanzania. The last time I checked, it was about 11 million people. About 11 million people. I think that's lower than the population of Lagos or Kano. And they have 509 cases. It's not alarming, but it's not enough for the country to be shouting Uhuru. Again, let's ask ourselves a pertinent question. Are they sincere? Are they really testing? Can anyone tell me that if you test the over 11 million population of Tanzania, that only 509 will have will be COVID-19 positive? I also know that if it was possible to test the about 200 million Nigerians, that not less than 10-15 million will be COVID-19 positive. Are we not deceiving ourselves in Africa? Is Tanzania not living in denial? The president said he would rather believe in God to protect his country. Yes. Is he ensuring that adequate testing is going on? Because if you look at the number, 509, you probably would think that, oh, in spite of the carelessness, in spite of the sublime belief in God, okay, maybe 4, not in spite, for the sublime belief in God, they have only 509. The population is only about 11 million. Then, if you look at Mauritius, you mentioned Mauritius at the beginning of the program. Mauritius has a population of less than 2 million. I think 1.2, closer to 1 million.
I'm talking about going back to the mosque, to reopen the mosque in Mauritius.
Yes, Mauritius is closer to 1 million than 2. And the what they call it?
They have 332 cases of COVID-19.
232.
332.
In Mauritius. It's even worse in Mauritius than in Tanzania. The truth of the matter is, maybe you are aware that Mauritius is preparing for, that's Burundi preparing for elections. They are also not serious over there. We live more in denial in Africa. We are not sincere about our testing our population. And from what Tanzania has said, the testing kits are also flawed. And so it is difficult to blame Tanzania, Mauritius, or even Burundi. But I would excuse a country like Nigeria, especially because if you look at our literate population, is low. We have more illiterates than literate people in Nigeria. But if it's working for Tanzania with its small population, working for Mauritius, does it make it work for Nigeria? Where we have so many people homeless on the streets who do not, if you go and do a voice pop, you discover that in Benin City, so many people still do not believe that COVID-19 is real, even amongst the elites. And so there is a compelling need for government to protect its people. Right, that is not being done in Mauritius. It's not being done in Tanzania. And I pity the people. And I don't know what excuse the government will have by the time they have an explosion.
Thank you so much, Barrister Robertson. In matter you've spoken at length. We expected the likes of Pastor Azeme Azena of Omega Fire Ministry, but due to some commitment, he wasn't able to make it. You can check out this discussion on YouTube to follow everything that Barrister talked about, the clamor for some religious organization in Africa to reopen their religious houses. For instance, churches in Tanzania, Mauritius, mosques, they want to go back, they want to start with that fellowship, but he has given strong reasons why they shouldn't clamor for it. What are your opinions? What are your views? For today's edition, it is an abridged version. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Barrister, once more, appreciate your wonderful analysis.
Thank you very much.
See you tomorrow on International Forum. Bye for now.